The reason that the church is doing this is not because they love Japan or they love people. It's because they know this is going to bug the crap out of our evangelical haters. Am I right? These are pagan temples here. This is a pure troll. I see troll written all over this.
This is going to be the best day ever. This is going to be the best day ever. Wake up.
We're talking about other supernatural beings that are floating around the universe doing the will of God, which means he's not the only one out there.
That Shinto Buddhist is closer to God than y'all. This is why the Chinese people will never be Christians, because they're way too good at math.
Yeah. Got our scripture notes up and running. And just a reminder, this episode is brought to you by Scripture Notes. All of the scriptural references that we'll be using inside of this podcast will be done using the app Scripture Notes on your screen. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Ward Radio. I'm your host, Cardinellis. Today, I'm joined in the studio via Zoom by Jonah Barnes, the Associate Professor of all things apocryphal. And today, we're actually going to be reacting to this news article, the church responding to Japanese earthquakes with donations and service, which is a really crummy, euphemized, neutered way of saying the Mormon church is rebuilding pagan shrines. Now that might rub people wrong, and I don't just say that for clickbait. To me, this is actually a beautiful example of the truth of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in action. And unlike other churches that look down upon some of these other polytheistic faiths of the past and, kind of view it as some kind of tit for tat contest. That's actually a vulgar term. I shouldn't say that. But, some kind of like competition in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We recognize that we love all truth no matter where it comes from. And the very first thing that somebody has to believe is that there's something outside of themselves. And that self-worship is destructive and exterior worship is beneficial. And that's the foundation that all religions hold. So let's start with that and we all share that and let's build upon it. Let's build upon it and go as far as we can go together before we part ways theologically and enjoy what we can do together, because we are all children of God. And we're the only people that freaking have that approach officially. There's a lot of people in the difference between, the pew and the pastors that feel that way inherently, but it's not codified. And they're the ones that send out all the cringy tracts to your Jewish friends saying how they're going to hell. And I'm a Jew now that turned to Christ and I'm trying to save all Jews. And they're the ones that make these super horrible, YouTube videos about why Muhammad is the Antichrist, just all this stuff where you're like, oh, I want so badly to just cleanse the title of Christian from all of its cringe. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, this is an amazing article. I'm sorry. I've totally talked your ear off. Jonah, you're the one that brought this to my attention. Please tell us what's going on, my man.
Well, what's going on is, they didn't talk my ear off. So in January 2024, there was an earthquake that hit the island of Japan.
Yeah.
They got a lot of earthquakes going on down there. A whole lot of earthquakes. Yeah. Hopefully it turns those people to God. If I had that many earthquakes underneath me all the time, I'd be a very devout, repentant person.
Hey, just come to California, dude. We're right next to them. We literally share engineers. We design each other's overpasses and stuff. It's crazy. So keep going.
Some of the laws they pass in California, I'm like, do you guys know you're sitting on a fault line, right? I mean, you're just but anyways, So there was an earthquake that damaged a bunch of shrines. So some of these shrines and temples and things were built a long time ago.
Yeah, look at that.
And the architecture has tried to hold up over the centuries, millennia. And this earthquake was a little too much for some of these guys. And so it did damage to these buildings. So the church, which has become actually quite good at earthquake-proofing buildings, and Japan's also good at this.
By the way, don't say earthquake-proofing, earthquake retrofitting. Proofing is like a challenge to God and the angels. He's like, oh, you want to think you proof this? All right, 9.0. You know what I'm saying? So,
give it a little shake, see if it.
Yeah.
So the church went through It was the Noto Peninsula of Japan that got hit with this. The church came into the Noto Peninsula, found some of these sacred shrines and temples, donated money for repair or volunteer hours to help these things get repaired. A lot of these shrines and things in Japan are not super well kept. It's just some monk, some priest, and he's kind of doing the whole thing by himself. They've become kind of historical. They don't have a huge congregation that can come together. And so as these things fall apart, there really isn't a whole lot of crowd passion to get them rebuilt. So the church came in and said, let's help you with this. They provided financial support for roofers to come in and retile some of these things. There were some that were damaged a little bit, but they were still standing. So the church is going to try to help with foundations and things. It's a brilliant idea. A number of shrines were serviced with financial support or with volunteer efforts. These were Buddhist shrines.
Yeah.
And they were, what is it? Animism? What do they call it?
I was reading this. It said 4 Buddhist temples are also supported. And then forget these names. Kwonzon Chunchoji Kojima Town, Joro Shinsu Otani Shoganji Temple on Noto Island. And then it did say the Sect Phoenix Mountain Kojenji Temple will be the next sacred building to receive assistance. Yeah, I did not even want to start trying to guess how to pronounce this correctly, but I'm really, really happy to see that they're doing it.
but I'm thrilled for whoever you are, for whoever that is.
Yeah, and it was pretty scary listening to this saying because there are safety concerns about secondary disasters at dangerous sites like tilting buildings. And I look at that first picture, I'm like, yeah, you're not kidding. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's not an overstatement.
To go walking into that guy would be a little bit scary. Yeah. Last month, the church unloaded 9 truckloads of rubble that were removed from some of these buildings. That's a lot.
Jeez.
And carved out to salvage and preserve the roof tiles and other historical artifacts. So some of these things are old. They've been around for centuries and centuries, and the church wants to preserve it. So now, the reason that the church is doing this is not because they love Japan or they love people. It's because they know this is going to bug the crap out of our evangelical haters. Am I right? These are pagan temples here. This is a pure troll. I see troll written all over this. These are pagan, literally pagan shrines.
There's no better way to. Are you saying there's no better way to troll an evangelical anti-Mormon than just by helping out Shinto and Buddhist priests in Japan rebuild their naturally disastered temples?
Yes. I think it's brilliant. They're looking at this and they're saying God is destroying these pagan temples. The church comes in and it's like, oh, you think so? Here, let's help you fix up these temples and fix them. And that just like we're going to see it in these comments. Some of these evangelical hate watchers are just going to be incensed by this. These are legit pagan shrines, and we're fixing them up because it's better to believe in something.
And then we start telling them that they're pagan. Dude, the best, one of the most dumbfounded faces I ever saw in my life was when there was this kid from the local university that will remain nameless who wanted to come and, do his thing with the missionaries. And the missionaries said, Brother Ellis, he seems sincere, but, he's a little bit combative and you're kind of better at these things. Do you want to sit in on a discussion? Because, we don't know how far we want to go with this guy and so on and so forth. So he came over and he seemed sincere enough to want to meet and talk. And I remember after doing the whole grace versus works argument for 45 minutes, then him finally realizing that even the act of reaching out and touching Christ's coat was an act that qualified the woman, you know what I'm saying, for her miracle, and her faith had made her whole. You know what I'm saying? That blew his mind. I've never seen the blood drain out of a man's face with more just oh no in my life than when he said, well, you guys are pagans. And I said, well, that's fine because so are you. And he was like, wait, what do you mean? And I said, okay, well, there's man and then there's deity, right? He said, yeah. And I said, what do you call angels? And if you want to make it this bipolar thing, you know what I'm saying? Where there's God and then nothing else supernatural. Okay. Was he lying about the angels? And how else would you describe angels other than other maybe gods with a little g? Like, I mean, what? Like
lesser deity?
Yeah, lesser deity. Like whether you believe God is the ultimate one or not, if you believe the Bible, there's angels floating around and they are not men. They are not men.
All over the place.
There's angels all over the place. And if they are elevated above the status of men to be able to withstand the presence of God, then what are we talking about here, bro? You're talking about other supernatural beings that are floating around the universe doing the will of God, which means he's not the only one out there, which means you're a freaking pagan because you believe in a pantheon of gods and a structure of power. And then he had no refutation and you just saw him what? And I said, there's a word for it. It's called monolatry and it's different than idolatry. You are not idolatrous, but bro, you want to come at us with these weird semantic arguments? You've got a whole lot. There's a wave of semantic arguments. When you open that door, bro, like you're going to have just shoe boxes falling out of you of semantic arguments. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, one of my greatest hopes as someone who wants to spread the restored gospel is that someday, sometime, somehow, the Christian world would actually read the Old Testament. It'd be amazing. It'd be amazing if they actually opened up the first 3/4 of that book and gave it a read. Half their arguments against us would fall down. We'd have converts by the millions. It'd be amazing.
Well, and I was just going to say that like the funny part too is it's hilarious to see with what disdain North American anti-Mormon evangelicals will simultaneously speak about paganism, right? With this utter disdain, a veneration of monotheism, and then like a disdain for paganism, as though like it's like theft itself, right? You know? But the funny part is then you say, oh, okay, so those guys are bad over there because they believe there was like, a Vishnu god that was a little bit better than like this god of the sea who was a little bit better than this god of fertility. And so you say no to 3 gods. There's only really one, right? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay, please go describe to that pagan person the Trinity.
Oh, jeez.
Could you go explain to that Buddhist using the scriptures, the Trinity? Go tell that guy how your 3 are 1. Just go tell him. And the hilarious part is they become Mormon missionaries like that. They're like, okay, there's these 3 divine beings. All right, bro.
They're not. Yeah.
But they're united. Oh yeah. Like my mom and dad are united. In purpose. Yes. Okay. I can wrap my head around that part. No, but now you need to understand that you're a baddie for being a mystic who believes in strange, undescribable phenomenon. But I'm about to tell you how this dude is ice, steam, and water all in one, and you're not allowed to believe in one, but have to believe in all 3 simultaneously, or you're a baddie and we're going to burn you.
This is why the Chinese people will never be Christians, because they're way too good at math.
Yeah. That's funny, dude.
So actually, no, this isn't a troll. This isn't a troll.
Yeah.
Our Shinto and Buddhist brothers and sisters have a deep reverence and respect for the whole world. They believe that everything is embodied with some kind of intelligence.
Yep.
And they need to be careful and in harmony with the world around them. And all that is fantastic. They believe in character development and self-discipline. These are all good, godly things that we could maybe use a little bit of in Western Christianity. But actually this comes from James chapter 2. James, underrated. Okay. And James in chapter 2, he says, if one of you he says, if a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you saying to them, depart in peace, be ye warm and filled, notwithstanding ye give them not the things which are needful to the body, what doth it profit? Even so faith, if it have not works, is dead, being alone.
Boom.
So James is saying, these people, their temples are falling down, their identity, their cultural identity, their history, their purpose is crumbling before them. You have the means to help them. You don't come in and give them a big sermon and say, get baptized first. No, come in and help these people rebuild their culture and their shrines. We're thrilled to be able to help our Buddhist and Shinto brothers and sisters over there in Japan. The church does good things all over the place and does not discriminate because we don't approve of their religious beliefs. we're all children of our Father in heaven. And so
Okay.
it's awesome. I love it.
What was that scripture really fast again? I wanted to look it up on Scripture Notes.
Ooh.
Right here. Boom shakalaka.
Ooh.
Got our Scripture Notes up and running. You said it was James, right?
James 2:16.
Okay, cool.
Or 15, 16, 17. This is look, this entire book, this entire letter that James writes is all about how sola fide is stupid, which is incredible considering he was 1500 years before sola fide was a thing. Okay, but basically this whole letter is a refutation of the solas.
This is really awesome. I mean, here's the original translation that I'm actually just going to pull up right here. And you can see that if a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warmed and filled, notwithstanding you. Dude, James was such a Chad, bro.
Dude, he was based.
Dude, James was like, it's my favorite book in scripture. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's also the most that just says like, oh, you're Christian. Well, do you do this? Then you're not. Yes. And imagine like people forget if tradition holds true, he's the brother of Jesus. And I mean, who better qualified? Who better qualified, right? Than
he lays it down. He says, one of the greatest utterances in all of scripture. It says, this is true religion, to feed the hungry and visit the widow.
True religion undefiled before God is to visit the orphans and the widows in their affliction.
Yes.
So
true religion undefiled before God. And the Japanese and Shinto and Buddhists do that. They do that. They love their communities and they serve their communities. No. And so they are far closer to God than somebody who just won the lottery of being born in the Western Christian world and has a Jesus is my homeboy bumper sticker on the back of their pickup truck, but does nothing to serve their fellow man around them. Sorry, but that Shinto Buddhist is closer to God than y'all.
Dude, and then it goes straight into this verse right here. Just speaking of just trolling our anti-Mormon North American evangelical haters. But wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead?
Is dead.
Like, how do you reconcile that? Like, they come after us so hard, and you're just like, bro, faith without works is dead.
I don't know, man. I don't know how they square that one.
That's hard. Anyway,
I'm telling you, someday they're going to open up the Bible and actually read the whole thing, and it's going to be, earth shattering.
Yeah. And dude, it's so cool because you can actually just like click on this side note. I'm sorry. I'm not going to go down a scripture notes rabbit hole, but like as soon as you click on the eye right here and you see the notes, it's got the automatic definitions of faith and works, topical guide entries, all the different LDS footnotes, and they got Journal of Discourses stuff, even links to Apocrypha. I mean, this is just some seriously cool stuff right here. So anyway, let us know what you guys think in the comments below, okay? Did you serve your mission in Japan? Have you ever seen any of these structures? Have you done any similar service projects like this or engaged in some of this really cool interfaith work? I myself absolutely love it, and I think it's some of the best one of the best aspects of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is its interfaith humanitarian work. But let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Check out Scripture Notes. And as always, for this and more, please make sure you check us out at WardRadio.com.
This is gonna be the best day ever. This is gonna be the best day ever. Wake up, top of the morning. The bacon is crispy, the coffee is pouring. My meditation is peeling an orange. The bank says I'm already scoring.